Hello and welcome to the Matter Financial Report. My name is Michael Matter with the Matter Financial Group. And if you'd like more information about what you are hearing on today's show, give us a call. That's 916-469-9016. Or you can head to our website, thematterfinancialgroup.com. Again, thematterfinancialgroup.com. Also, if you're listening to us on the radio, thanks for joining us. We're new here, but we've also been recording podcasts and we're on YouTube. So if you're interested in listening to some older shows, you can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music, or anywhere else that you get your podcasts. So today, Tony, we are talking about a strategy that's generating a lot of conversation in the financial industry right now,
Yes.
and that's Roth conversion and Roth planning.
Yes.
And we want to clear up some of the questions you might have and go over, some different strategies in today's show. So as I mentioned, Tony already, let me bring in my co-host, Tony Shore. Tony, how are you?
I'm doing great, Michael, and I think it's going to be a good one. In fact, this topic is so hot right now, and this is something that so many people either don't fully understand or overlook completely when they're planning their finances, and it is just a game changer. I mean, I know you have clients and people you've worked with who aren't paying any taxes in retirement, at least not to the federal government, because of a Roth IRA or state, because the money that they're pulling out in retirement the taxes have been paid, it's grown tax-free, so the growth and the principal all come out in retirement tax-free. We'll get into that. That's exciting. I know our listeners, though, today will have questions, and our viewers out there. So just again, before we start, I want to remind our listeners and viewers, if you have any questions or want to set up a no charge, no obligation consultation, just give Michael and his team a call. All you have to do is call 916-469-9016. That's 916-469-9016. Or go to thematterfinancialgroup.com. Just all spelled out, thematterfinancialgroup.com. And matter is just like it sounds, Matter, thematterfinancialgroup.com. Tons of resources. You can actually schedule a time to meet with Michael and the team there. And there's, again, no charge. And right up from the website, you can set that up. And don't feel inhibited at all. If you just have questions about Roths, or you have questions about retirement income plans or your own retirement, or you just want a second opinion on where you're at financially, that initial consultation, there's no obligation to continue, and there's no charge. Plus, Michael has a lot of great resources and reports he can run for you. So, Michael, I'm correct, right? You can schedule that appointment right from your website, correct?
Yes, you teed it up perfectly for me, Tony. I appreciate it. You're not going anywhere. We'll keep you around for at least the next
Oh,
week. Thank you,
whew.
Tony.
I was starting to sweat there a little bit. I'm like, I got to earn my keep. I mean, I know you love helping people, so you're here to educate. But I thought I'd just remind our listeners of what you're offering them if they need personalized help, right?
Yes, thank you. And as you mentioned, this topic, more than most others, is going to generate a lot of questions. So a lot of our other podcasts, we're taking questions and they're pretty simple, straightforward answers. But today's
Sure.
topic around Roth contributions and conversions will probably spur more questions than give you answers today. So
Sure.
again, thank you for laying that out for us.
Yeah, you don't want to. I mean, Roths and IRAs and conversions, like doing a 401k to a Roth conversion or a 401k to a traditional and then a Roth. What's right for me? Does it make sense? What are the rules? We're going to go over some of that today because it does get complex, and you will have more questions, like Michael said. And I think it is so important that people know what's available out there and how it works. And it's not, it's not one size fits all. I know I always say that, and you always say that too, Michael, but
Yes.
it's true. That's why we're doing the show. And so I think that, there's a lot of enthusiasm, like I said, around Roth conversions right now. And I think a lot of people hear the term and wonder if they're missing out on something.
Exactly.
So where do you want to start with the topic today?
Yeah, so today's conversation is going to be based on a recent Kiplinger article headline, Should You Jump on the Roth Conversion Bandwagon? So it is a buzzword in the industry. Roth conversions, Roth contributions. If you've seen any advertisement, Roth is probably included with it. So we want to clear up as much of the misconceptions or answer as many questions as possible today. So let's just start with some of the basics, because I think before someone can decide whether a Roth conversion is right for them, they need to understand what it is and how it works. So a Roth conversion means moving money from a traditional IRA or a 401k and converting it into a Roth IRA account. So when you do that, you pay taxes on the amount that you convert today. And so that's the first basic thing to understand. It's going to create a taxable event. But in exchange for that conversion, that money that you've now converted grows tax-free, and when withdrawn is not taxed as well. So it's now a new tax sheltered account for yourself.
Well, yeah, and I think that I love the sound of that tax free, right? That's the one time we're allowed to use the word free because it really is tax free through a Roth. You have to pay taxes on it now, but when the amount is smaller, right? And isn't that the advantage there? I mean, you're essentially trading a tax bill now for the possibility of no tax bill later. That's the beauty, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And so you can see why that's appealing and why so many people have questions about it. But
Yeah.
it's not that simple of just let me pay taxes today and not pay taxes later. There's a plan that needs to be crafted around it. And that plan is, what do your taxes look like today? And what do your expected taxes look like in retirement? So, what are we trading off? We want to make sure that it makes sense. And so
Right.
that's why when you start to think that you can do this on your own or you don't craft a report for it, that's where people run into issues.
And you run reports for people all the time that can show them, okay, yes, it's right for you. And I love how you and your team stay up to date on all the rule changes. I mean, there are many rule changes that happen. I mean, with the Secure 2.0 Act, with one, the big beautiful bill, tax situations, taxes are in constant flux, right?
They are. So we currently have a permanent tax code. So if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, you'll see I put some air quotes around permanent. Permanent just means it will not sunset. There's no expiration date. But at any point, Congress, if and when they decide to change the tax code, is no longer permanent. It just will require them to make a change through Congress. And
Yeah,
they will eventually.
sure.
So the decision is, do we think taxes will be lower today than they will be when you decide that you want to take money out of that 401k or IRA account? And then craft a plan around that of what your income looks like today, what it looks like when you will be drawing from those accounts. So does it make sense to convert today, or does it make sense to convert in retirement? So there's again, it's multifaceted, Tony. It's not a straightforward answer.
Right.
And just like you said, it's not a cookie cutter answer. So when we put together financial plans for our clients, this is one of the major pieces that we look at, because it's not a do 20% for 5 years and you're set. It's based off of your individual circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody again, what you just said, everybody's situation is different, but the rules are there. I mean, there are limits to what you can do with a Roth. Obviously, a conversion is great because most of us, especially those, 50 plus, 55 plus, have a bunch of money hopefully built up in a 401k or some type of work sponsored retirement plan, and that's our savings right there, or a lot of it. But what do you do with it? Right. And should you be doing something with it now before you retire? Or if you're already retired and you've just got a traditional IRA, or you still have a 401k, you should be doing something with that money. And you need to work with a financial professional, because a Roth, having at least some of it in a Roth, is really a great idea for a lot of people. Right.
Right. So when we look at, I think all of my clients, the very first number one worry for them is, do they have enough income in retirement? Are they going to run out of money? Right. So it's based,
Right.
they don't want to go back to work. They want to make sure that when they retire, they can stay retired and have the lifestyle that they'd like. Then the second issue that everyone has or have questions around is, what are my taxes going to look like in retirement? So having different buckets to pull from, taxable accounts, non-taxable accounts, it's important to have that strategy, just like you said. So obviously, if we take care of the first worry, do I have enough income? Am I not going to have to go back to work? We have that part figured out.
Right.
Then the second part would be, how much income can I generate that's not going to be taxed? And that's why you hire a financial professional, to make sure that we can maximize that
Yeah.
income that won't be taxed.
Right. Yeah, maximizing income is what it's all about, and that's what you're about. And for every tax dollar you don't have to pay, it's a dollar you keep in your pocket or more. I mean, it really works out great. You want to minimize that tax burden, but who, you know, uh, what are the process? Who tends to be a candidate for a Roth conversion?
Right. So it's not for everyone. Okay, Tony. And that's why it's important to craft a plan, to
Yeah.
make sure that you're not just creating a taxable bill this year for no purpose in the future.
Right.
So
Right.
who is it
If you're
for?
gonna be in a if you're in a higher tax bracket now than you will be in retirement, nobody has a crystal ball, and I don't think there are that many people who have saved diligently that will be in that situation, especially if you have, a middle class or higher job and you've saved for retirement. You're probably going to want to at least consider a Roth conversion, but like you said, it's not for everyone, right?
Right. So to go back to the original question, who is it for? I
Yeah,
kind of said who it's not for, but
sure.
who is it for? The
Right.
typical person that's getting ready to retire or just retired. Everyone should at least look for the opportunity. So pretty much the typical retiree that's saved for retirement, that has a 401k or an IRA, there's probably some area of opportunity to look for a tax-free bucket, whether it's a Roth conversion or some other opportunity to look for income that won't be taxed.
Right. Right. And there
So the
you go.
majority of people, Tony, I guess,
Yeah.
is the more
Yeah.
simple way of putting it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it
Yeah.
took so many words to say.
Yeah.
Most
Be
people could find an opportunity.
Right, because when you sit down with somebody, when somebody comes to you and says, "Okay, I need to figure out retirement. I need to how much am I gonna need in retirement? Have I saved enough? When can I retire? I wanna retire next year, or I wanna retire in 5 years. Am I gonna have enough? Is there anything I should be doing?" And I know you're gonna say, okay, all your money right now is in tax deferred. What are we going to do for a tax free bucket? You're going to want money in a tax free bucket. Now, maybe a Roth conversion it's not the right time or the right tool for you to achieve that, but for most people they're going to need that anyway, and that's a big part of the planning you do. So Roth conversions are going to be for a lot of people out there. But again, don't try to do it on your own, and don't do it just because your neighbor or somebody else told you. You need a trusted overall financial professional, a fiduciary who's looking out for your best interests. Have them quarterbacking and coaching you through this process and looking at all the factors. I mean, everything comes into play here, right? Time horizon, your goals, what you've saved, what sources of income you're going to have in retirement, because that determines, okay, you're going to have what if you have a pension and you have social security and you have you'll eventually have required minimum distributions. All these things are taxable in retirement, or can be if they add up to too much or a certain amount. Maybe it's not too much. They can add up to what a couple probably needs to live on, and then you're in a higher tax bracket, and it's going to drastically affect you if you can't pull some of that money to live on from a tax-free bucket. Is that what you're saying?
That's pretty much exactly what I'm saying, and so that's our call to action right now at this part of the show, right? So we've
Sure.
kinda covered a little bit of what a Roth is, and maybe you have questions, so give us a call, because everything that you just laid out in terms of what your portfolio looks like, what are your goals, what's your time horizon, that all goes into the financial plan that we put together for our clients, Tony. So, like you said, we don't just look at the Roth opportunity. should we make a contribution or should we be converting? Because I couldn't tell you that without knowing the entire picture. And that goes into the financial plan that we put together for our clients. So if you have questions about Roth conversions, give us a call or any other issue, but it's 916-469-9016, or you can head to the website, the Matter Financial Report. No cost, no obligation. We'll put together a financial plan for you and your family, and we'll figure out, does it make sense for you to participate in a Roth conversion?
There you go. I love that. And again, listeners, take the advice and take this opportunity. Just mention you heard about it on the show when you call, and that's 916-469-9016. Just call the Matter Financial Group at 916-469-9016. Now, this is a great topic, and we've been going over a lot of the aspects. What is a Roth? Is it right for you? And I think one of the big appeals to Roths are RMDs. You don't have, with a traditional or tax deferred account, which most people have their retirement income in, you're going to have to start pulling money out of that one, whether you want to or not, and paying full taxes, right?
Yeah, so now we go back to that person that's a high income earner. Maybe we can't make a Roth conversion while they're still working, but as they enter retirement, maybe their income level drops off. So there's a little bit of a window between retirement and RMD age when they would be required to draw from their retirement accounts. So their income level might be a little bit less than while they were working, but it will go back up when they have to draw from these accounts. The government says, hey, this is our shared account. We've let you defer these taxes for 73 years or 75 years, however old you are when you are required to take from these accounts.
Right.
But now we want our piece of the pie.
Right.
Okay. So planning, there's a window there that typically we find is a sweet spot for our clients to start to make those conversions. Maybe we can fully convert your 401k or IRA into a Roth account by the time you reach RMD age. And with a Roth account, there is no required distribution from that account.
Yeah, and that's what an RMD, we throw that around. That's required minimum distribution, and that's at 73. For most people hearing this, they will, if they're not already to having to take required minimum distribution. Some of our listeners are probably already having to do that. But when you turn 73, you have to start taking required minimum distributions from your tax deferred accounts, and you have to pay full taxes on that. And if your income, taxable income, is above a certain amount, it could bump that RMD could bump you into a higher tax bracket. Have you ever seen that happen with people you work with?
Yeah, so we always talk about Aunt Irma on the show.
Oh, Aunt Irma,
if you
she's
want to
the
talk
mean
about Aunt
aunt.
Irma, she's the mean aunt. So Uncle Sam takes half of our retirement account, and then Aunt Irma comes in when we get taxed on our Medicare, depending on your income level. So
yeah,
it's a double whammy, right? If you're already making a good income, now you're taking your required minimum distribution. It puts you into a new tax bracket. You might actually end up paying even more in taxes on top of that with your Medicare taxes. So
yeah, and they call it a
planning around,
surcharge that they add on, but people think, oh, well, this year, 2026, the Medicare Part B premium is $202, and that's I think I used to assume that's what it is for everyone. No, it's not. If your taxable income goes over a certain point, and I'm not sure, I forget the actual number, but it's not that much when you take into consideration a couple's income, or if you took money, $100,000 out to buy something of your tax deferred account, that's taxable income. And that'll put you in a higher tax bracket instantly, probably, for most people. So then they raise your premiums on your Medicare. It could go from $202 all the way up to over $600
and
a
that could be a
month.
shock,
Yeah,
especially
and
if you haven't planned for it. And you didn't realize that's a possibility. So that's why working with a professional to put together a plan to either avoid that or just acknowledge that that's a possibility by drawing from your accounts or doing a conversion. So finding that sweet spot of that window, of tax planning, income planning, and then conversion planning.
Yeah.
It's all hand in hand.
That's great. And again, this is something you do, and that's why we throw out the number. This shows for education, and I know you've been on TV talking about finances recently. But if people do need more help or want to get a plan in place, again, 916-469-9016 is the number to call the Matter Financial Group. Now, Michael, we've been talking a lot about this, and I think we look at tax brackets, we talk about Medicare premium surcharges, but taxes on what you convert should be paid using funds outside that retirement account. So if you're going to do a Roth conversion and you're pulling money from a 401k or an IRA that's traditional, that's tax deferred, the money you pull out to put in a Roth, you do have to pay taxes on what you pull out. So do you ever advise, I mean, do you still have people do it as one lump sum? Do you spread it out over time? And can they just have that money taken out of what they're pulling out? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's an important question, Tony, and
Yeah.
that gets to the heart of why do we craft a plan? Why do we run a report? Because it's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all. Because the traditional method, Tony, was, okay, Tony, you're 65, you're going to retire. Here's your gold watch. Right. They don't give those away anymore.
No, I wish.
Right. Yeah. We all want that gold watch.
Yeah. Let's get Gradient to pony up for a gold watch.
Yes. But then now you're retired. Okay. You have your retirement funds. Let's put it into an IRA, and it's going to be in a 60-40 portfolio, 60% equity for growth to keep pace with inflation, and 40% bonds. We want to generate some safe income for you. And then over the next 5 years, 20% we're going to convert to a Roth. Okay, that was the old cookie cutter way. Some advisors are still doing it that same way. But it doesn't work that way anymore. Bonds are no longer that safe haven. Maybe they're not generating the income that we thought that they were supposed to generate. So it doesn't work that way anymore. We have to craft a plan. And the 5% or the 20% Roth conversion over 5 years just doesn't work for everyone. And that's why we have to run a report. And again, it goes back to, it might sound like we're, beating the drum over and over again about this, but it really is dependent on your income, time horizon, and goals for that retirement account and how much we do convert. Because I don't think I've ever had a client, Tony, that had a sizable amount of a portfolio where we did a 100% Roth conversion all at once, because that would create a massive tax bill.
Yeah, it would immediately probably, I mean, depending on the amount, but it would put it would bump almost anyone into a higher tax bracket.
Yeah,
probably.
Even if you're in the
highest
bracket,
yeah.
Even if you were already there, and this is just another sum of money that you're paying 40% taxes on.
Yikes.
We want to look at what's the advantage of doing that, right? What's the time horizon? When are we expecting to draw from these funds?
Right.
How are we going to grow that Roth account moving forward, right? Because that's the other piece. Well, what are we doing with this account once it's converted? What's the purpose of it, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about other reasons why you might make this change other than for yourself.
Right.
The advantages of a Roth. But, typically what we find is that it's not always the full account gets converted. It doesn't have to go from a 401k or an IRA eventually all to a Roth. What we find is when we run the report, when someone needs to draw from the account, we want to make sure they stay in the right tax bracket. We don't end up converting the entire account to a Roth. Sometimes it's only 15 to 30% of the overall portfolio that's available to convert. We end up converting over time, and maybe it's 10% for 3 years. Or maybe it's 16% the first year, Tony, and we never do another conversion again. And it's a lot of numbers and percentages, but that's just to highlight that no one person's case is similar to anyone else's.
Right. And you alluded to something in there when you started talking about that just now, and that is we have to look at your time horizon or your schedule. How much time do you have? Where are you at in the process? And the time horizon really matters, because Roth conversions tend to work best when there's enough time to take advantage of tax-free growth. That's when it really makes sense, because It's the old analogy that you've used. I've heard you say this. Would you rather, if you're a farmer, would you rather pay tax on the seed or the harvest? Well, the seed is much smaller. The harvest is going to be huge. I mean, the seed, you might have a bushel full of seeds and you're going to get 100 bushels of harvest. Well, I'd rather pay tax on a bushel than 100 bushels, obviously. I mean, that's a no-brainer. And that's kind of why Roths can be a no-brainer, although there are restrictions, there are rules. And again, time horizon is big, isn't it?
Time horizon's huge. And
Yeah.
I don't know if the Kiplinger article mentions this, so I want to mention it now as we talk about planning. And this is maybe the biggest misconception people have about a Roth conversion, or maybe they don't understand about a Roth conversion. There is a 5-year waiting period after the portion that you convert can be used without penalty.
Right.
So that's the other time horizon we have to look at. When do you expect to use this money? So
don't
have 20
convert
years?
all your money into a Roth if you need that money before 5 years from now, basically. And because, otherwise you pay a penalty. And there is a way. And then once you meet that, you can take money out, and you just have to follow the rules. And the rules aren't that bad. It's just, in combination with other things, does it make sense? And the time horizon, that 5-year waiting period, is a big one, and that's why the sooner the better, right? My daughter started a Roth IRA when she was 21 and has been putting $200 a month in it. And that's the smartest thing. Had I done that? Yeah.
Yes.
You'd be working for me right now instead of the other way around.
That's right.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I'd still
We're
be here
about
with you.
Conversions today,
Yeah.
Tony, right? We're not really, you can make contributions into a Roth. It doesn't have to be a conversion from a 401k or an
Right,
IRA. You can
right.
actually just start to contribute to a Roth, and that's amazing, right? Especially
Right.
with her runway. She's not touching the retirement account no matter what type of vehicle it's in until
until
after
65.
59 and a half.
Yeah,
right?
or 60 at least. Yeah. So this is good. There is another thing though. I know married couples, you have to consider the cash flow for both. You need to kind of look at this. I know they're individual accounts, but if you're married, you should look at your spousal situation, right?
Right, and that's probably more along the terms of, tax planning, income planning,
Sure.
how much income tax you're paying, and then looking at what accounts you're drawing from. That goes back to time horizon. Ages, again, is really important
Yeah.
for RMD withdrawals.
Sure.
So
Yep.
what age does your spouse have to start to draw from the account? Because that's going to affect your income and your bracket.
Yeah.
And then when do you start?
Yep. And really quick before we go, we're almost out of
Yes.
time,
Yeah.
but you alluded to something. You said something earlier about it's not just for you, but your
Yes.
family, like kids and grandkids. What's that aspect of a
I was
Roth?
going to make sure, I wanted to make sure we hit that too. The other major advantage to doing a Roth conversion is if you're legacy planning and you would like to leave your money behind to the next generation, or you want someone else to receive this money tax-free. They continue that benefit as well. So
Yeah.
when they draw from their inherited Roth account, it's tax-free money.
Yeah, but if it's in a traditional IRA, they're going to be and that you say, "Oh, I've got all that money, I'll just leave it there for my kids." You're leaving them with a ticking tax time bomb because they have to withdraw it all within a certain amount, and they have to pay full taxation on that. And they'll probably be in their peak earning years. They might be 59, 60, in their 50s at least, probably, hopefully, when you pass. Nobody knows, but then they're in their peak earning years. So that's going to bump them into a higher tax bracket and cause all sorts of problems for them. Why cause those problems? Leave them a Roth, tax-free money for your kids and grandkids, right?
Yeah, there's very few vehicles where we can talk about tax-free. And that's
Yes.
what everyone wants. They want
Yeah,
the
of
full
course.
amount, and they don't want to pay taxes. Well, here's one opportunity for you to take advantage of. It's called a Roth account. If you have questions about anything that you heard about today on the show, Tony, or any other financial questions that we didn't bring up, give us a call. The phone number is 916-469-9016. Again, 916-469-9016. Or you can go to our website, thematterfinancialgroup.com. Again, thematterfinancialgroup.com. Scroll to the bottom, request a consultation. We'll put you on the calendar.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Michael. And listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of the Matter Financial Report with our host, Michael Matter.